Hi everyone, welcome to Operation Management online tutorial. Today we're talking about chapter 9, which is about layout strategy. What is layout and how is it really important in a company? How is it going to affect the benefit or the loss of the company or even its performance in short? So this is what we're going to see in this chapter. First of all, one thing that you need to know, these are different layouts for different companies or different shops. So you'll notice that each company, according to the product that they are manufacturing, they'll have a specific layout. For example, a layout in a warehouse, for example, which is the picture on the top left here. A layout in a warehouse won't be the same as a layout in a supermarket or a layout in a manufacturing company or on a construction site. So depending on the product or on the strategy of a company, a layout can vary. Now, it says that a layout is a configuration of department, work centers, and equipment with a particular emphasis on the movement of worker. It can be the customers or the material through a system. Now, the layout is very important because it affects the cost of the cost of producing good and delivering a service. In fact, every time that a company is performing, for example, they make sure that if they are focusing on the speed of delivery, for example, they need to design a layout that will allow the movement of people or machineries or the material themselves to move faster so that the product will be delivered faster. That's why we say that layout is going to is going to help an organization achieve a strategy that supports differentiation, low cost, speed, quality, and dependability. So layout is really something important that can help a company to perform well. Now, these are some of the considerations that a good layout will achieve. Normally, if a company has a good layout, you will notice that there will be a higher utilization of space and equipment of the people. So it will be really easy for people, information, material to move in the company. Now, it also help improve the employee morale and safer working conditions, which is also obvious. By having a nice layout, you'll notice that, let's say for example, an employee is working in a company whereby the layout is fine, it's simple, there's how do you call it, there's light, sound can move easily everywhere. You notice that the employee themselves, they'll have a good morale every time that they reach the company. They feel like, yeah, this is a nice place to be. But there are some other companies whereby whenever you get into the company, first of all, it's noisy, and sometimes there's dust everywhere. You notice that every time that the employee gets inside the company, is really upset, and it doesn't really allow him to work as it's supposed to work. Now, a good layout can also improve the customer interaction as well as the flexibility of the company too. Now, the need of a layout decision may arise because of many reasons. A company can decide, for example, to change the layout because the operation are inefficient themselves. They notice that they're not really performing as they were supposed to perform, or there's a change in the design of a product or a service. You can even take it in the way, for example, when you have your home when you have your place and you decide to buy, for example, a new furniture, you will notice that something will have to change, maybe depending on the size of the furniture and so on. You might decide to change the layout of your place, in short. So this is what we mean by what are the reasons that can make a company change the layout. I was also talking about accidents, for example. Accidents can happen in a company and decide that while they were analyzing the reason why the accident happened, they decided it was because of this and that, and they decide to change. There's also change in the environmental or legal requirement, changes in the volume of output or mixed product. Sometimes a company can decide to manufacture other kind of product that will require a specific layout, meaning they'll have now to change the layout itself. Now, the different type of layout. First of all, you must know that we have 7 types of layout, and we're going to look at each one of them step by step. The first one is an office layout. This one is a kind of layout that groups the workers, the equipment, and the space to provide comfort, safety, and movement of information. The main important thing about this layout is the movement of information, and most of the time this kind of layout, as it says itself, you find them in offices. Maybe in call centers you will find this kind of layout, or in administration of company, for example, you're going to find a kind of layout like this, where you find a worker that is positioned next to another worker so that they might really interact easily and so on. So that's why it says that the main difference between office and factory layout is the importance placed on the information. Now I must know that when it comes to this layout, there are two trends. The first one is technology that allows increasing layout flexibility by moving information electronically. That's what you can see, for example, here in the picture. Those people that are sitting, they are using technology now with computers and so on. They can even be interacting without talking to one another by means of technology. We also have the virtual companies. This one, most of the time, you'll find them with companies that are working with many branches that are intercontinental or that are global. In this case, you have people that are meeting, they rely on network and suppliers who can provide product or service on demand. So now you can use they can interact using many social networks like Skype and so on and so on. Now the second type is the retail layout or the supermarket. In short, this is a common example of this retail layout is most of the time referred to the supermarket. In this layout, it is smaller. The objective is to maximize the profitability per square foot of floor space. What do they mean? They just mean that they need to maximize the exposure of product. This is what they mean. It is based on the idea that the sales and the profitability vary directly with the customer exposure to product. So within the supermarket, the company assumes that someone is going to buy a product not necessarily because he needs it, but because he sees it. How many times did you go in a shop? You wanted, not like you wanted to buy, for example, a product, but because that product was really well exposed, there was how do you call it? There was some light and it was displayed so fancy that you decided I'm going to buy this product here. In fact, that's what they do. So they make sure that if we expose a product to our customer, surely they'll think twice before buying it. Now, these are some few helpful ideas for supermarket layout. It's not all of them. I'm sure there are 5, but here I'm just going to mention a few of them. The first one is to locate hydro items around the periphery of the store, dairy product on one side of a supermarket and bread and bakery product on another. Another one is to use prominent location for high impulse and high margin item, example houseware, beauty aid, shampoos, and so on. And the third one is to distribute power item, those items that may dominate of purchasing trip item to both sides of an aisle and disperse them to increase viewing of other items. In short, this is just an example about some supermarket strategies that they use. For example, when you go, for example, next to the counter, you'll find some items like batteries, like chocolate, like sweet. Those are some items that someone cannot just leave his place to go and buy those items. But they know that if, for example, I'm done doing my groceries, I can go by the counter and I see a chocolate or I see a battery and I buy. Not really because I need it, just because it looks nice and I want it and I take it. Now there are also some items, for example, like microwaves. All those items that are expensive, most of the time they are not exposed. They will be put somewhere at the back of the store so that when you get it, you don't really need to be intimidated by the price itself. Also, you find some other product like toys, for example, for kids. It's true that there might be a section for toys, but most of the time what supermarket do is like they take some toys and they put them here and there in different places in the supermarket, and they will always put them at the level where the kid will be able to reach. So by the time the kid reach that toys and he start crying, so you don't have a choice, you need to buy the toy for them. So those are some few strategies that they use in the supermarket depending for the layout. Now, when it comes to the supermarket or when it comes to the retail layout, you will notice that there are 3 different kind of layout. There's a grid layout. That is most of the time what we find in most of the supermarket like ShopRite and Pick and Pay, for example. You find that they have parallel aisle with merchandise on shelf on both sides of aisle, and then we have cash register that are located at the entrance of the exit. So that's why you find the first thing that you see are the cashiers themselves that are just at the entrance. But we also have some race track loop layout. Most of the time this one is they say that it measures customer aisle begins at the entrance. It means Measure customer hassle begins at entrance, loops through the store, usually in shape of cycles, square, rectangle, and returns customer to front of the store. This kind of layout is a layout that you'll find probably in clothing store like Edgar's, for example. You'll find that they have a layout like this whereby there are different mini sections inside the shop themselves, and there are different counters. There's not only one counter that is located at a specific place. You might find a counter that is located in the section of clothes for kids, for example, or perfume, and so on and so on. There's also a free form layout. This one is a boutique layout, arranges in fixtures and aisle in the asymmetric pattern. So this one here, it's not really, as it's saying itself, it's not really a layout that follows a specific pattern. It's something that is free, so you can find anything anywhere, like something like that. Now this one, the following layout is the warehouse layout. Its objective is to maximize or optimize the trade-off between handling cost and the cost associated with the warehouse space. In short, this one is a layout that you might likely find in warehouse, but you might also find it in shops in warehouse like Macro, for example. Macro is also like a warehouse. So in the warehouse, what they do is like they design it in the way that material handling, for example, while they are using tools like the forklift, for example, to handle goods, it won't be really a problem, or it won't cost them more, because those vehicles can move easily inside and outside the warehouse itself. So they need to maximize the total cube of warehouse and utilize its full volume while maintaining a low material handling cost. So they just make sure that everywhere that we are going to, whenever there is space, we need to fill that space with something, in short, with a product and so on. Now, a different type of layout is a fixed position layout. This one here is a layout that it most of the time found on construction site of building, of bridges, of roads, of hospitals, and all those things. Now, it addresses the layout requirement of a large, bulky project such as ships and buildings. Now, in this layout here, you'll see that the product, which are everything that the company is trying to build, the product remain on one place. It's only the worker and the equipment that come to site. It's an example, for example, it's an example of aircraft manufacturing, cranes, rail, coaches, and ship, highway, bridges, house, and oil well, surgery, and so on and so on. So you'll find that most of the time when they are building, or we can say between bracket, manufacturing those products, you will find that it's people and material that come on site. And now some complication of this factor is that most of the time there's limited space outside. That's why you won't find a place where they are storing stuff on the construction site. So they always bring stuff from outside and then bring them to the construction site. And also you will see that different material will be required at different stages of the process. It's more like, even when you are building a house, for example, you notice that they will need, for example, bricks at a specific time of the construction project, and they will start bringing the material required to make the roof at a specific time also. So it's not that they bring all the material at the certain time. And also something that is really complicated about this factor, it's about the volume of material that is needed is dynamic. For example, the rate of the use of steel panels for the hull of a ship changes as the project progresses. So this is why in this kind of layout, most of the time they need this project manager to tell them what do you need, when, and what quantity, and so on. Another type of layout is the functional layout. Sometimes it is also called the process-oriented layout. So this one here is a layout that deals with low volume but high variety. Low volume and high variety of production, in which machine and equipment are grouped together in one section or area department. It is most efficient when making product with different requirements, or when handling customers, patients, or clients with different needs. Now, a big advantage of this layout is its flexibility and capability of handling a wide variety of products or services. But now, a disadvantage is that this layout comes from a general purpose of the use of equipment. Now, we'll see that there's an example of an hospital here. We call it, why do we say that hospital use a process-oriented layout? First of all, it's because of the volume that is low and the high variety. By volume, we mean the number of people of patient that comes in the hospital. Most of the time it's low, and by variety we mean now the need. Even if you see 10 people in an hospital, it's not all of the 10 that have the same need. Some can come, one can come because he has a broken leg, another one can come because he has headache, another one can come with a specific problem, each one of them. So we see that the need vary. That's why we say high variety, and the volume is low because it's not every day that you see an hospital servicing something like 10,000 people a day. It doesn't work like that. So that's why we say that it has a low volume and a high variety. Now, it says also that they have the possibility of handling a wide variety of product or service, which is also true in the way that in the same day you will see you will see a department that is only servicing people with headache, a department that is only servicing people like X-ray department, for example, will be servicing people only who need the radio or X-rays and anything like that. But now, the picture on the left here is showing you that this can be a layout of an hospital, and I want you to notice something, that you'll notice that every time that you go in an hospital, you always find the ER rooms at the entrance of the hospital, and next to them you might find the surgery, the radiology, the ER bed, the pharmacy, and also you'll notice that the pharmacy will also be found at the exit, because it is assumed that a patient will get in an hospital, most of the time they get in hospital in critical forms and so on. So that means they need to go straight to the emergency room, and after the emergency room they need to stabilize them, and then they might go for a surgery and so on and so on. But now, why is the pharmacy located at the exit? Because it is assumed that at the time someone leaves the hospital, now we need to take some medications and then he leaves, so you will rarely find the pharmacy at the entrance of the hospital. But now, you see the movement in red and blue shows the movement of two different patients. We have patient A that has a broken leg and patient B with an erratic heart pacemaker. So you notice that the movement won't be the same depending on the problem. You see that with these two patients already we have a variety. That's why we say that there's a high variety of product and a low volume, in short. Same applies for the library. For example, you can see many people that are getting in the library, not all of them that want the same thing. Some can go in the library for internet and online research, some can go for a study desk, some can go to learn a book, and so on and so on. So yeah, this is it about a process oriented layout. Now, another one is a work cell layout. This one is a layout that is really it's based on the idea that they are made of an arrangement of machines and personnel that focus on making a single product or family product. What is a family product? A family product is almost like a product that they have the same, how can I say, a same family tree between brackets. We can say, for example, when it comes to phones, for example, you can notice that all, for example, these smartphone like Samsung, for example, we have the A series. You can find I don't know if there's A1, A2, A3 and so on. Those A's, they are family related product, so it's a series of products that are coming together. But now in this layout here, it's a layout whereby we have people that are manufacturing the same product or similar product. They are working on a specific side. They are grouped together, in short. So it group technologically identifies products that have similar characteristics for a particular cell, and cells can be reconfigured as a sign of volume and changes. In short, this is, so you'll find that there's a section for people that are manufacturing the same product or product that are similar and so on. Now, another one is a product oriented layout. Now, a product oriented layout here is something like the opposite of the process oriented layout. In this one, it is organized around the product of families of similar high volume and low variety, which was not the same of the process layout. The process layout was about a low volume and a high variety. Now, this layout is used in case of repetitive and continuous production or mass production type industry. Now, the transform resources flow along a line of a process. Now, the flow is clear, predictable, and therefore relatively easy to control. Now, the raw material is taken at one end of the line and goes from one operation to the next very rapidly with little material handling required. Now, an example of this one here is a manufacturing company, for example, like Coca-Cola. They are manufacturing cold drinks. You'll notice that there's an assembly line and there is a process that needs to be followed. The first process is to take the bottles themselves, to cleanse them, and then they go through another line. They go through another machine that is going to fill with the drink. Another machine will put the labels and so on. So they are all the products are moving through an assembly line, something like that. That's why it says that the flow is clear and predictable. So we can know that now that the bottle have been cleaned, the other process is to fill them with cold drink, and the other process will be to put the labels and so on and so on. Now, the reason why they are saying that there's a high volume and low variety of product, it's in the way that the volume is high per day. If you try to make some research, they might tell you, for example, that per day this company of Coca-Cola is manufacturing more than 30,000 units. So the volume is very high. But now the variety comes in the way that all those units that are producing, they are similar. There's no bottle that is really different from the other, in the way that if they give you two bottles, you can identify that this one was made at this time, this other one was made at this time. So all of them are similar, and the volume is very high in the way that they're manufacturing a lot of those products. In short, that is about this chapter. Thank you so much. We'll be now doing the calculation in the next video, and I really hope that this video was helpful. Thank you.